Hello, and welcome to the Buffalo State Data Talk Summer 2021 mini-series all about internships. I'm your host, Heather Campbell, and our summer episodes will explore the process of finding and making the most of your internship. We'll be focusing on the field of data science and analytics, but many of these tips will be applicable to numerous fields, and also if you're searching for a job. From networking to acing that interview, our experienced panel of guests will provide excellent tips and tricks to land you your next internship. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the internship. Once you finally land the position, what can you do to make the most of it? And what do you do when the internship is over? Let me introduce you to our panel of speakers. Today, we'll be talking to Claire Petrie, a talent acquisition and HR expert from Buffalo. Thanks for joining us today, Claire.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
Dr. Ramona Santamaria, the internship coordinator for the Computer Information Systems Department at Buffalo State College. Thanks for joining us today, Ramona.
Thanks for having me, Heather. I love talking about CS and data.
Ijaz Eberhardt, a journalist and a Buffalo State College data science and analytics alumni. Thanks for joining us today, Ijaz.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be welcoming back to the show today Bill Bauer, the Education and Diversity Director at the BioXFL NSF Science and Technology Center at Hopman Woodworth Institute. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Thanks for having me.
So let's imagine that, you got your great resume, you got it, you got your interview, you got the position, you have an internship now. So what should you expect to gain from the experience, and how can you make the most of your internship?
Talking with everybody you can at your internship site. You may never meet the CIO or the president of the company, but see if you can get up as high as you can. You have to be ready for that elevator speech. That elevator speech, if you don't know what that is, you should look it up. It's like a 10 to 30 second speech that you can say to somebody who's important very quickly, or ask questions. The idea is, if you got into an elevator with the CIO or the president of the company, what would you say to them? And how could you talk about yourself and ask them a question so that they wouldn't forget you, all in a short amount of time? Be ready with that elevator speech, because you're going to need that every time you're introduced to somebody within your company. I also think that you're going to have some objectives that you're going to work on with your supervisor. Every couple of weeks, I would ask my supervisor, am I meeting the objectives? And if you're not, ask why you're not meeting them and how you can meet them. It's really important that you know what skills you're going to be leaving with when the internship is complete. You should be able, from the objectives that the supervisor writes down for you, you should be able to talk about each one of those objectives on any interview that you get going forward.
The biggest thing I think I learned from that is to always be of service and don't sit idle. So even if you have nothing to do or you weren't sure what you should be doing, because that happens sometimes if someone hasn't checked in maybe in a little while, just ask someone.
You should, really look at ways that you can just get everything you can from this experience. It isn't just, a huge part of it is, yes, developing your skills and having something to add to your professional portfolio. But look at ways that you can really make this an enriching experience for yourself, and that, maybe your site supervisor can help you as well. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I really would like to learn a little more about this, or maybe can we sort of tailor my experience a bit more in this way so that it can be, more enriching. See what you can get, have fun with it, and just really look at it as what it is, an opportunity. This is not just something you have to do, it's something you get to do. So appreciate it to the fullest.
You have some amazing advice. I wish somebody had told me the things that you're saying before I had started my career. So I think everyone should listen to what you're saying and try to do everything that they can.
Thank you. I appreciate that. and work it like a job too. Be absolutely committed to it, because this is giving you a taste of a job that you could very well have. So while you're getting this experience, also be sure to look at it as a job in every way. And that means professionalism as well. Don't feel like you can be lackadaisical or, give half of your effort just because it's an internship. Well, I'm not getting paid, or I'm not getting paid as much as I would be as an employee, so I don't have to work that hard. It's okay if I'm a few minutes late, or if I'm not, dressing professionally. I can show up whenever or however. Don't have that mindset. Please don't. Because maybe the person that you're working for as an intern will want to look to give you a job, but if they see that you're not committed and that you're not taking your obligations seriously, you will not be considered. And word of mouth is a real thing in good and in bad respects. People will know about your work ethic from others. Maybe someone you do want to work for will come to that person saying, "Oh, I heard this person was an intern for you. How were they?" You want them to have good things to say, don't you? So then take it seriously. Dress professionally, do what is asked of you, show up on time, commit it like it is a real job. Even if it is an unpaid internship, act like you're getting paid. Do this because you're hoping to get everything you can from this experience. And I think the last thing that I would say is to have fun with it, honestly. I mean, an internship shouldn't just be, this intimidating thing or just something that you're doing because you have to. Really look at ways that you can get involved.
So a lot of times internships can potentially turn into full-time positions. So what advice would you give to somebody to say, what's the best chance of you turning your internship into a full-time position? What should you do?
So if it's a campus position, sometimes they're hiring, sometimes they're not. But if it's an off-campus position, you should make sure you let the company know you are going to be looking for jobs in the area, and you would love to be able, you're really enjoying your placement, and if an opportunity at the company came up, you would love to be able to apply for it. Mm-hmm. And leave it like that. Be modest about it, because you want to be able to be assertive, saying, yes, I would like a position, but you also want them to know that you're not so arrogant that you wouldn't just assume that you would get the position. You want to be able to say, if a position was available, I would love to apply for it. Would you please let me know if anything comes up or if the needs of the company change, and I would be a good fit.
That's an excellent point. I think making sure you're not assuming you're going to get something is
right. Yeah. You need to be humble. You always need to say your please and thank you and have your manners, things like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of the things that we need in order to get jobs and internships are pretty basic. It's most of the stuff that you learned in kindergarten in terms of learn how to make friends. That's your networking. Say please, say thank you. Ask for help if you need help. But here's the thing. Ask for help when you need help, but you don't want to be asking for help so much that people think you're incompetent. So you're going to have to look up some stuff yourself. And it's really appropriate when you're in an internship to say, let's say you're my supervisor, Heather. Heather, you gave me this assignment, and I didn't really understand what you meant when you asked for this. I looked up a bunch of things, and this is what I found from my research, but I still kind of don't know what direction to go into. Can you help me? So that shows my supervisor, Heather. They gave me a task. Maybe I didn't know everything about the task, but I wasn't afraid to research more information about the task. And if I still didn't know it, then I'm still humble enough to say, I've tried other avenues, but I still need help. Can you help me? And that really shows the type of employee that you want. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's willing to do more work on their own to figure out the answer.
How do you think you can have the best chance of turning your internship into a full-time position?
Well, I think one thing you can do that will really help yourself is to exceed expectations. And so if you figure out exactly what it is that you'd like to be doing, or should be doing rather, and then do more, go beyond what it is that's expected of you and show initiative, they will really take notice and will more seriously consider you for a position later on. So this could mean reading extra papers or taking your project to the next step. If you're an academic intern, this could include things like following up after the internship and see if you can still help with the project or push for the work to be published. Getting a publication during an internship is a really big deal if you can manage that. It is rather difficult to get that amount of work done in about 10 weeks, but it does happen, and it really helps the students out. Also, if the program has some type of specific track or pipeline that they use to acquire new talent, and if you've been trained in their internship program, this really gives you an advantage. And so if you can figure out exactly what it is you need to do to get to the next step while you're still there, you can try to get introduced to the people that will do the hiring or application reviews for the next step. And that will really help you out if they know the name on the application and they know who you are. I think that can really help your chances of being hired later on. And of course, again, follow up with your supervisor. Make sure you can get good recommendation letters.
Definitely. So taking the opportunity to network within the internship, even if it's not maybe specifically in your program, you would say is a good use of your time?
Yes, definitely. I know of some specific cases where that's helped, where they went outside of the group they were working with and tried to meet the people that would actually be reviewing the applications for their grad school, and they ended up getting in there. I don't know exactly how much that helped, but it definitely doesn't hurt.
I'm sure it doesn't hurt at all. And, if you don't like your experience, would you say that's still a valuable use of your time?
Yeah. I mean, of course, it would be more useful if you did like it and continued on the pathway, but it is useful to learn what you don't like, just as useful. And I think, having that experience is still useful, even if it's something that you don't want to pursue long term. It can help you make connections with people that may be useful down the road and can help you get recommendation letters for the next step. And still, the training that you received in that program could end up being useful in other settings too.
And also look at an internship as an opportunity to see if maybe this isn't something that you love. Maybe I would have done this internship and said, I guess data journalism isn't for me. But, for me, it was a confirmation that it is. But sometimes you'll find that what you anticipated you wanted to do is actually nothing like what you thought it would be. And that's okay. If you're in that position, don't feel defeated or that something's wrong. See it as a great thing that before you took a deep dive into this field or into this career and wound up absolutely unhappy, that you got this internship to give you a taste of what working in a certain industry or a certain realm would be like. And, while you're still a student or even before or even when you're graduating, say, okay, well, I figured out what I don't want to do. I like to say this, that it's as valuable. Honestly, in a weird kind of way, I kind of see it as somewhat more valuable at times to know what you don't want rather than to know what you do want. Because the things that you don't want are your real non-negotiables. You can say, okay, well, I want a job that has this and this and that'll allow me to do this. And maybe you'll get something that doesn't cross every box off of your goals list, but you'll love it anyhow. You're more willing to compromise because maybe you work with great people or you work for a great company and you have a wonderful experience. But when you say you don't want to do something or that you're not comfortable doing something, there is no compromise with that. It's not like it's going to just magically, get better. Well, I say that I'm not a strong numbers person, so I'm going to get a job as an accountant. I can almost guarantee you that's not going to make you happy. And that's the thing to realize, no amount of money in the world is worth your happiness or worth what you want to do.
Once you've finished your internship, what should you do then? You mentioned making sure so you stay in contact with the people you work with. Is there anything else?
I think following up and thanking them for the experience is always a good idea. I always remember the students that do this. I still have their cards in my office, and it's a good way to help you stand out and show your appreciation for the work that they put into it. There's one student that gave me geranium in a bucket about 4 years ago, and I still have it, still alive. And so every time I see it, I think of him. And I'm not suggesting that you should buy flowers for all of your mentors, but it certainly made an impression.
Yeah, that's definitely something that not everyone would do. So it's something that could make you stick out. If you have completed your internship and you're done, is there anything you should do once your internship is over? You just leave the company? What do you do?
There's a lot of things you can do. First of all, you want to let that company know that you want to stay in touch. So if you're not already connected with them on LinkedIn, you should be connected with them. But you should always send a thank you note. It just distinguishes you from other people. Please, again, kindergarten, please and thank you. So saying thank you for the opportunity that you gave me. I can't wait to use my skills in trying to get a position in the job market. Very simple, 3 sentences, and it distinguishes you from everybody else. Then you take those skills and you run to the Career Development Center and you say, how do I take these skills and put them on my resume so I can start applying for, my career? My career! It's so exciting, right? Like I'm just a student and now I got all these skills and mad skills, right? And now I'm going to put them on my mad resume. And I'm going to get this wonderful career that's going to satisfy me.
So what is something that you wish somebody had told you before you started your first internship or professional position?
So it can get stressful and overwhelming. I will say that. So I looking back on my younger self now, and what I think is just helpful, to keep in mind as a current student is there will be a lot to learn. There's going to be a lot of names to remember. Don't get discouraged. Be present during your training. Try not to be worried about, other things you might have to deal with afterwards or trying to remember something that happened earlier that day. So be present, take good notes, find a system that works for you. So again, in terms of how you take those notes so you can revisit it later, asking questions. So everyone was new once. So just remember you can do it. Even if it gets overwhelming and stressful, you'll make it through. Just do your best.
I think that's really excellent advice because I think a lot of the time when we ask people who've been in a position for a really long time, they don't necessarily remember what it was like starting out. And I think that that's a really good point that a lot of the time when you go to your very first internship or your very first job, it can be really stressful. You've never been in that experience before. So just, take a deep breath. It'll be okay. You'll get through it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it may work out where it is all, rainbows and butterflies and whatever, but I like to make sure I'm really honest with this type of question. So, anticipate it could be really hard, but again, just be present, take notes, and do your best to set yourself up for success.
So finally, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like our listeners to know that we didn't get a chance to cover today?
Yeah, what I'll leave everyone with is just that confidence goes a long way. So especially as a younger emerging professional, that imposter syndrome can creep in or those negative or limiting kind of self-beliefs. So practice that positive self-talk. If you don't believe in yourself, it's hard for others to as well. And your energy is contagious. So just surround yourself with positive, helpful people who can uplift you. And just do your best to present yourself in a confident way because it will go a long way for you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode from our mini-series all about internships. If you liked the episode, make sure you check out our previous podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you prefer to watch, podcast videos are now available on the Buffalo State DSA YouTube channel. For more information about starting your career as a data scientist, go to dataanalytics.buffalostate.edu. And don't forget to subscribe so that you get notified each time we release a new episode of Buffalo State Data Talk.